I was kind of enjoying it, to be honest with you.
I was too.
Being a fucking piece of shit.
It was awesome.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Filthy. I'm here with my longtime good friend Kasey, police officer, coffee extraordinaire, you name it, baseball fan lover. Welcome, Kasey.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be here, man.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Drive It Like You Stole It, a little bit of GTA, something near and dear to my heart that I was able to fortunately work for several years and work some of that with you, and we had some great cases. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. Just give us a little background for the listeners so they know kind of your expertise and why you're able to talk about GTAs.
Well, first off, I was born right here in Tucson, so I know well about all the issues. I've been a cop for 21 years with the local agency here. I worked in uniform patrol, did some plainclothes stuff over the years with you down on the south side. Most of my career time has been with the Vehicle Theft Task Force. I've been there over 11 years, and so that's where all of my knowledge and the majority of my career experience is.
So you're born and raised here in Tucson. You've seen all the dirt and filth and all the fucking dipshits that we got in this city, stealing and robbing and looting, and you're obviously 11 years of experience related to car theft and everything that comes with that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So Kasey really knows his shit about car theft and crime in Tucson. Let's talk a little bit about stats. What's the current state in Tucson for car theft, and what's the state of the union for the state of Arizona for car theft? What's it looking like these days?
Well, I'll start with this, just to explain for people who've never heard of what the Vehicle Theft Task Force is. People don't know. There's this group of guys out there that focus strictly on auto theft. So the task force was created in 1997, and that was basically when auto theft in Arizona was just outrageous. It was crazy. We had 50,000+ auto thefts in 1997 in the state. And when you look at the most recent stats for 2019, of course, before 2020 hit, for 2019, the task force recovered like 1,600 vehicles worth over $23 million, and we arrested over 300 people. So the creation of the task force was huge in getting Tucson and Phoenix out of the top 10 for auto theft, which they used to dominate the country in auto theft through the early 2000s. And when your first time around in the task force was, you think back to, the city had 150 auto thefts in a week, and now I'm sure that's probably down 2/3. So with that being said, it's much better than it was, but it's still a huge problem. Business is still really good for us.
So the numbers, cars, the total numbers have gone down, but what it seems to me from the outside looking in, correct me if I'm wrong, is they've gotten smarter. They've gotten better about VIN switches and stealing high-end cars with keys and looking for victims of opportunity, and I think we'll venture into that realm here in a little bit.
No, that's
numbers
all exactly
aren't
right
there, but they've gotten definitely more wise. Even though technology has made it harder for them to steal cars, they're definitely more wise about it.
Well, and that's the fun part of the job is you remember, I'm sure, going to work every day, man, was like it was totally different, totally new. What are you going to get into today? Who knows? And trying to keep up and stay ahead of the bad guys was half the fun. Figuring out what are they going to do next? How are they going to? Because they're going to up their game as we do too.
Yeah, they up their game, but they also do some dumb shit.
Well,
like drive a stolen car to the fucking main station to pick up her boyfriend who we're interviewing for stolen cars.
This is true. They take it to court. We've arrested people at Superior Court in a stolen car before.
Yeah, so while some of them are smart, some of them are still stoned out of their fucking minds on whatever, and they're not very smart. But yeah, what kind of cars are we getting ripped out there? What's the flavor of the day?
So Tucson is unique because it's cars last out here, unlike back east where everything will be rusted out in 10 years and it won't work. So you think about a 1990 Honda is still running around 31 years after it was made, and it's got 250,000 miles on it, and it can very easily be stolen with a screwdriver and a rock or a jiggle key or whatever. So that will always be around, but the thing that's hitting hard now is just thieves creeping around the neighborhood jiggling door handles and finding keys that people leave in their cars, and that's how stuff's getting stolen. The majority of the cases that we investigate are stolen that way, and I attribute that to the Tucson population is so many transplants from back east or the Midwest, or where they can get away with that. They park their cars in their driveway and they leave their keys in their car, and that's okay to do back there because it's not the big city that it is out here. And people just forget, and it happens one time. It's all it takes is one time, and then your car's gone.
Welcome to Zombie Land, where the zombies are out. They're not eating your face, but they're stealing your shit.
If it ain't bolted down, they're going to steal it.
Yeah, these fucking thieving bastards in this town. And speaking of that, crimes of opportunity, while you're leaving your keys in there, I'm just going to say this for all the listeners. Stop leaving your fucking guns in these cars or your kids. Both are extreme. You know, you stop somewhere at the Circle K and you have a kid in the car. You run in real quick, and guess what?
Happens all the time. Yeah. It's crazy how much that happens.
Those are the most intense cases because I don't think anyone in their right mind wants some yahoo hot-rodding Honda across town with a little kid in the back. And oftentimes they don't even know it at first until the kid squeals or, you know, cries in the back, and then all of a sudden shit goes
because they're
wrong.
too busy worried about getting away. They're not looking in the back.
So for the average, you know, listener, the average Joe out there, this stuff does happen, and people leaving their guns in their cars. Hey, you know, all for you carrying a gun and protecting yourself and all that, but take your gun and your belongings in. So crimes of opportunity are what you guys are mostly working right now. It seems like, yeah. Best case you ever worked, man. What is it?
That's easy. It's got to be when we worked metal management back in the day. A local scrapyard here was buying stolen cars that people would just trailer in. They would steal them and drive them straight to this place, drive them right up on the scale, get paid $200 or $300 for the whole car, and then it would get crushed, shredded, disappear, never to be found again. So we got wind of it, put this whole case together, this whole undercover thing where you and I did our thing and acted like tweaker thieves, and it was awesome. Man.
We looked like it. We became tweaker garbage for a while, and probably against our wives' wishes, you know.
For sure. There's times where that has to happen
every day.
So
I was kind of enjoying it, to be honest with you.
I was too.
Being a fucking piece of shit.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
because it's not how we normally are. You know?
I knew I was onto something when it happened to me about 4 times where I went somewhere and the cops that I encountered, they were in uniform. A couple of them were wearing green uniforms. They didn't know me. And even our own people didn't know me because my look had changed, and it made them uncomfortable. I'd see them blading their gun sight away from me, you know, and all this kind of, like, you know, I was talking to Tess earlier that, you know, you just kind of people watch what they do, and you get a little enjoyment out of it. But that case was absolutely outstanding on so many levels. It was fun. It was new. It was creative. It hadn't been done yet.
Right.
In fact, if I remember, we got some pushback early on where people were like, you can't, it's not going to happen. For whatever reason, you're not going to have enough money, you're not going to have enough time, resources, this isn't going to work.
Well, and they worry about entrapment and things like that. And I mean, you remember how blatant we had to make it. I mean, not only did we tell them that the cars were stolen, but we'd bring them in there with a screwdriver jammed in the ignition, like no VIN plate on the dash, like a piece of, not a title, just a piece of paper, and explain to them, hey, just please take this car, just smash the shit out of that thing.
Yeah, get rid of this quick.
Get rid of it. I mean, it was blatantly obvious what we were doing, and they didn't care.
And the end result was, if I remember correctly, we changed the dynamics locally completely. And to this day, I believe that they will not take cars in there without a whole, well, what they should have been doing in the first place is checks and balances. And then it changed throughout the nation, I want to say, because that company, that corporation is actually international that owns that place.
Yeah.
So that was a great case. That was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
I've got some great memories out of that. Smashing a Ford Cobra, you know, with the big fucking claw wrecking ball crane. That was, you know, heartbreaking, but cool at the same time, too.
Yep.
Any scary moments for you that stick out?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know that I would say scary. I mean, definitely there's been plenty of times where the pucker factor has been like turned up to 11, you know?
Yeah, you got some seat cloth crammed up your ass. Cause,
yes.
You know,
where your butt cheeks actually will grab your seat because you're like, holy shit, like, you know.
This fucker's going to ram me. Here we go.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's probably the most nerve-wracking part is when, we follow these guys around, and they know that the safest place for them is to be behind the wheel because it's their quickest and easiest way to get away. And they're smart, and they know that the cops are probably going to jump me when I park and get out and walk away, which is true. So they stay behind the wheel, and sometimes we got to try to just contain them or box them in, and definitely several times fenders have been bent, but that's the cost of doing business.
Funny moments that stick out. I've got a dozen in my head, and I can think of a couple that were just absolutely fucking hilarious, where I couldn't even function. I was laughing so hard. But
that is a hard one, because every day, working with the guys that you work with is awesome, and funny shit happens every day. I do remember one, and it's related to my current boss, who's on his way out, ready to ride off into the sunset. But years ago, around 2011-ish or 12, somewhere around there, we were following this guy around who was on his own little personal crime spree. He was robbing people, robbing food cities, doing home burglaries. He stole the same car from the same victim twice. Anyway, he was out of control for a couple of weeks. My boss and I ended up finding him. We followed him to his mommy's house. He parked the car down the street and was walking up the sidewalk to go inside. And it was just me and him. And we knew, we had to get this guy now, because we don't want to wait. We were waiting for other guys to get there to help us. So my boss jumps out of his truck. We confront the dude. He pulls up in front of him. My boss jumps out and starts giving the guy commands, and his brain is buffering, man. He doesn't know he doesn't
buffering, fucking control, alt delete.
Yeah, that's what he needed to hit, because he couldn't figure out what was going on. All of a sudden there's these two white honkies staring me down, and they're screaming at me, and I don't know what to do. Well, we don't know if he's going to run or fight or what he's going to do. So my boss does these. He's famous for these Bruce Lee kicks that are just badass.
Yeah.
Just a straight front kick right to the dude's chest plate. Hits him, boom, he falls into this chain link fence. He doesn't know what's up, so we get him handcuffed. And while I'm cuffing the dude up, I look up at him, and I'm like, hey, man, that was pretty badass, but something doesn't look right here. And if anybody's ever worked plain clothes, you understand how much of a pain in the ass it can be to get your tack vest on, quickly. And I've done it where I've
in the car.
I've put it on over my seatbelt and trapped myself in my car. So I open the door, and the seatbelt is holding me, but my vest is over the top of it. It's a pain in the ass.
Clown show.
Yeah. So I'm looking, and all I see is police across the front of his vest, and I'm like, where are your mags, and where's your radio, and where's your badge? And then of course it hits him holy shit, I got this thing on backwards, I got to turn this around so that I look like I know what I'm doing. It was hysterical just looking at him there with his vest on all the way backwards, and front kicks this dude, and we made a great case against the guy and went to prison for 12 years, and so it was nice. You
got a good laugh, good case, good sentencing. What could go better, out of that?
Yep.
I remember following around. This was in 05, 06 time frame when all the trucks were at the height, and I could find a truck on the road like nobody's business. Run the plate, boom, it come back hot. And I had this young officer who's no longer with our agency. He's actually with another agency. He's doing a ride along, and he's gung-ho about getting in the task force and all this stuff. And I said, all right. So my boss at the time puts him with me because, I'm going to go out and find something.
Right.
And I found two of them. They were in tandem coming off I-19. I happened to be going down south and coming back up, and I'm like, these two are rolling together nice and slow, and they're both, one was a Ford truck and one was a older Dodge truck at the time. Run them, ping, pop 0701 on both. I follow them. I'm trying to call it out. It's days, with dinosaur squads, and no one's coming to you real fast.
Reliable help from.
Right, and plus we had already caused major, disasters numerous times down there. So I'm sure, the uniforms were in no hurry to get to us to have fucking volcanoes erupt with shit.
Yeah, they
everywhere.
hear your designator and they're like, oh boy, what now?
Yeah, so we roll into this hotel. Both trucks get in and park. They have no idea, obviously, by their behavior that we're in an unmarked car and and all this business. And we loop around the parking lot, and I tell this young cop, I say, hey, he's walking right now. That's the driver of the Dodge. We're gonna grab him up. The other guy was sitting in the other truck still. I said, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna roll right up. He's walking right towards us. You open the passenger door and you jump on him. And he's like, you want me to what? I said, jump on him. Take him down. I'll park. I'll jump out. I'll go get the other guy. And he's like, well, what about a high-risk stop? What I'm like, fuck all that. Here's what we're going to do. And I was like, I want you to jump out and jump on that motherfucker like a spider monkey, man. And he'll never know he's going to go into buffer mode. He'll never know what's going on.
Right.
And he looks at me and he asks me again. I go, do it. And here we go. And he's like, well, fuck, I'm committed. So he does. He jumps, and this fucking guy that he jumps on backpedals, and they both go, ass over tea kettles. And there's no fight or anything, but he ends up getting him cuffed, and I grab the other guy up. One truck's loaded with dope. One truck's loaded up with illegal immigrants, and we get them out and get them some water and shit. And in fact, I'll back up just a tad because this is funny as hell. The plate was stolen. Not to that truck. It came back to a stolen plate. So I knew something was up. You know? Anyway, both of them ended up being 0701 when we ran the VINs, and he was like, that is fucking incredible. How did you do that? How did you, like, why would we, he couldn't even speak English for a while, you know, but to see this little guy, and he's small, jump on this big guy like a spider monkey out of a car, and the other guy just freaked the fuck out like he had no idea.
That's awesome.
So that just kind of sums up the old ways of doing GTAs, and it probably still exists in some ways, but yeah,
for sure.
It was fun, man, doing stuff like that. Most GTAs recovered in a single spot?
3 or 4 easy.
Yeah, I mean, I can like cordwood.
I know days. I can remember days where you could find 3 or 4 in a day,
and you could do
that. You could do that multiple days out of the week. But the funny thing is that was back in the day when we didn't have the options or resources, or we didn't do things how we do nowadays. So a lot of times we were just recovering cars to take them out of the thieves' hands, and it wasn't really solving the problem because they were just going to go steal another one, which is what they would do. And you'd come back the next day or 2 days later, and they'd have another one parked in the same place where you took the one from them on Monday.
Yeah, I remember working those, and we based it on freshness.
Yes.
How fresh the GTA was. If it was stolen in the last 24, 12 hours, whatever, somewhere in that range, that was the one we were going to work. If it were 2 or 3 days old and it was covered in dust, hook it and tow it and beyond.
Move on to the next one.
So nothing really shocking to see, GTA stacked up in the same complex like that.
No.
Other crimes associated, for the listeners that really don't understand GTAs, put it in perspective.
Auto theft is totally a crime that facilitates other crimes. That's probably the easiest way to put it. If somebody's going to steal your car, it's because they're going to go do something else criminal. They're going to go buy dope. They're going to go sell dope. They're going to drive around with guns, and they're going to be prohibited possessors. They're going to go rob somebody. They're going to go burglarize a house. Anything. They're going to go porch pirate your stuff. They're going to go jiggle door handles to try to find another stolen car because they know the longer they have this one, the greater the chance is that they're going to get caught with that one. So I got to move this one and get rid of this one and get into another one. Literally, man, I think the only thing that we haven't booked somebody for in my time with the task force is like homicide. I mean, literally everything else. I mean, there's a horse rape case that we could talk about.
A what?
Horse rape. We'll just leave it at that. Well, it's a great story for another day, but I mean, literally, that's that happened on a surveillance where we were watching a guy who was wanted for stealing all kinds of stuff. So pick your crime, and they do it.
That one. Car thieves can take you in weird places, man. So just know that lock your doors, man. They're coming for you.
And lock up your horses, too.
Lock up your horses and animals and whatever else you got. So we kind of talked a little bit about the task force and how it's comprised as an entity. Talk a little bit about how an investigation works its way through, the judicial process with you guys as compared to, normal police work.
Typically, our day is, we actually go out and look for stolen vehicles. We're not, just because of the state of the local police here, we are really the only show in town for a unit that is out actively investigating auto theft. We drive around, we look for stolen cars, we try to figure out which ones are good, which ones do we think or presume are going to be used again by somebody, and then how can we further that case? Because like I said before, just taking the car and giving it back to the victim or the insurance company doesn't solve the problem. Whoever stole that car is still out again, and they're going to take another one. So the goal is to catch somebody dirty behind the wheel and
rolling dirty.
Exactly.
Motherfuckers.
And when we do that, it obviously makes prosecution a whole lot easier. But those types of things are very time intensive, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's totally rewarding because the task force pays for all of our prosecutors, and they only work the cases that we generate. So they expect us to bring them a complete, thorough investigation, and we expect them to hammer these guys to the fullest extent.
Right. What's cool about that compared to other cases is, a normal felony case comes in, it gets handed off to a prosecutor who may or may not know the officer that did the investigation.
Exactly.
It's kind of like an assembly line. Just compared to vertical prosecution with the task force is you get to know this prosecutor, and I've worked with some fantastic ones where they're just going to be straight up. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. You got to have it here. You got to have it there. And if you do it, we'll work that case all the way through the system. And I loved that part. I really did, because you actually have some consistency and solid communication all the way through the process.
Totally. Because we know as detectives which ones are the good cases and which ones are not. So it's easy for us, and when we have this relationship with the same prosecutor over and over again, it's easy for him to tell us, like, hey man, this case is garbage. And you know it, and you can't get upset about it. Right. Whereas if somebody that you don't work with every day and you don't know is telling you that, you could be like, you know what, man, they're lazy, they don't want to take my case or whatever, and it just, but the way that it is set up, it's really the best of both worlds. They only work the stuff that we bring them, and we get really good bang for our buck, if you will, out of it.
Awesome. And so with the task force, one other area that we haven't talked about is kind of the non-governmental organizations that support the task force, insurance companies, tow companies, the insurance investigative units. So you guys really work closely with those folks, right?
Yeah, we do. So like everybody thinks that insurance companies have lots of deep pockets, which they do, but at the same time, they're not in the business of giving their money away. So they have investigators that we work with that throw us a lot of business because, they don't want to let questionable claims go through when people are upside down in their cars and mysteriously it disappears across the border, and then the next day it gets reported stolen. I mean, it doesn't take
a fire and
exactly, and then the day after it burns down, they call the cops and say it got stolen. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on there. So we work very well with them. They know that we can be a resource for them. There's also another group called the National Insurance Crime Bureau, or NICB, that has special investigators that throw us a lot of business, and they have agents that work down in Mexico that help repatriate stolens back to the insurance company, and they work very closely with the Mexican government on helping us out to, like you had mentioned before, identify VIN switches and clones and things like that. Those are other conversations that are way more in depth than what we can do here. But I mean, Carfax gives us a lot of tips and info on VIN switches and clones that are now registered in Arizona, and they may have some questionable past because it's registered here and it's registered in another state. And they pass those tips
on. There's anomalies in their history that indicate something's wrong.
Yeah. So they pass that stuff on to us, and we're the ones that go out and investigate it.
So there's no hiding a stolen car from Kasey. He's done it for a while.
I'd like to think not.
Yeah, he's coming for you, you thieving piece of shit, if you do it. And God help you if you're doing some other funky shit while you're stealing cars. They're going to come get you, and they're going to bring down all the forces that they have in their disposal.
I like it.
So I really appreciate you still out there hitting it on the streets. God bless you, dude. You guys are doing kick-ass work. Keep it up.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for your time today. Any parting words?
No. I love listening to your stuff, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So we're going to end out this session with, if you're going to steal it, if you're going to steal that shit, drive it like you stole it.
That's right.
Because it's on. It's on like fucking Donkey Kong. We're coming after you.
Yeah.
So be ready. And we got those furry little friends to help out too.
Oh man, they are the great equalizer, bro.
Yeah, I wish I had that in my time, that we had that, because I'd love to see that fur missile launch and destroy some shit bags.
It's seriously the best thing. It has become the best part of the job. And for those that don't follow the local agencies, they have a canine page here. You're missing out, man, because the stuff that they put out there is awesome.
And believe it or not, it is the most effective, safest way way I've ever seen to handle these situations for everybody involved.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And they remember that shit when the chunk of their bicep is laying on the fucking ground inside the dog's mouth.
Yeah.
They'll remember that on the next GTA that they got to use their left hand to crack the column for because their right arm doesn't work anymore. Fuckers.
Nice.
So we're going to end it out. Thanks, Kasey, for all that you guys do. Keep up the good work. I'm going to be sure to razz your old boss about wearing his equipment backwards.
Correct.
Because he'll be in here to buy coffee in a week or two.
Bring that up.
Yeah. We're going to end with pirate and coffee facts. Pirate fact. Blackbeard burned hemp in his beard to be more scary. So he would roll up hemp rope, which is weed. He would burn some weed rope in his beard to give that smoky allure to scare everyone else away. Coffee fact. Coffee is surprisingly rich in antioxidants. It's good for the body. It helps protect you against several chronic diseases, including heart disease and cancer. With that said, stay caffeinated. Give no quarters to your morning. Peace. Well, Filthy Pirates, we hope you all enjoyed the show today. Hit that like and subscribe button to follow us on our YouTube channel. Check us out at www.filthypirate.coffee or come see us to sample our amazing coffee at our store. Stay caffeinated and give no quarters to your morning.